I've never had such high story views in my entire life.
that just means that everyone was sharing it with their
what
friends.
the fuck is she doing? Social suicide.
She's lost the plot now. But like, I can't think of that song without just hearing like a singular flute verse. It's like that's all I hear. Welcome to the Sherlock's Team podcast with me, Charlotte Collins. This week I'm joined by Harriet Russell and Polly Sayer. Hi both.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you?
You're good.
You're not feeling the freshest today, are you?
I know, probably not the best day to be on a 3-person podcast. Yeah, I went to Brighton Pride at the weekend and it was a heavy one, but really, really bloody fun. I've been twice now and it was just such great energy.
Even with the weather as it was?
Even
That's
with
what
the
I
weather.
said.
Everyone's just such a good mood and like the tunes are great and everyone's very friendly in the crowd and stuff. So yeah, and I went with a group of my girlfriends. So feeling
fun.
very fulfilled. In myself,
Heather said she was on the train this morning and there were stragglers like coming
No.
back.
Monday
yeah,
morning.
on
Still?
Monday morning. Yeah,
because the event, we went to the kind of like ticketed. Actually, do you know what? I think the street party is also ticketed, but we went to the kind of like Fabuloso in the Park thing, which is separate. It feels a bit more like a festival, and it is a 2-dayer. And we did intend on going to the 2 days. Like we bought the tickets, and then I woke up in the morning like, I don't think I've got it in me. I've got, like, as Ian Beale once said, I've got nothing left. And I was like, I'm going to have to be the boring one that's going to go home early. But then I think we were like, I'm not sure I really want to go back to the festival today. We could have a cup of tea. Do you go for brunch? Yeah. So I was like, thank God I'm not the only one. But I was kind of sad to miss it because Steps headlined on Sunday.
Oh my God, you missed
cool.
Steps.
I know, but that would have been at like 9 or 10 p.m. on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
I was like,
hence the
that's
stragglers this
aggressive.
morning.
exactly.
So were you supposed to stay over last night as well?
No. We were all going to come back on a Sunday night anyway, but I was a bit like, I don't know if I can. I've got it in me to do that.
Yeah,
long
that's
day on a
intense.
Sunday. But I did see Black Eyed Peas on Saturday night, who were so good.
Is it all of them? Like,
No, Fergie's not
No,
in.
yeah, I
but
didn't
like,
think so, that's a
other
shame.
than that, that's the original lineup, and they
Great.
were like surprisingly great. Like they did all of their good bangers, like the ones that people want to hear. You know how sometimes they're a bit like
I hate
too
that.
much of the
New
new
stuff,
stuff.
no.
Like Christina Aguilera headlined last year, and I've got to be honest, she just wasn't very good, and like did a lot of like quite new weird stuff, and I think we were just like, okay, great. And,
Genie in a bottle.
yeah, she just too tiny. But yeah, Black Eyed Peas knew how to work the crowd,
Fun.
and like when they did "Where Is the Love," I
what a
was like, takes
song.
me back. It
Yeah.
was so good. Yeah.
I actually saw Black Eyed Peas support Christina Aguilera.
Oh, random.
When did Black Eyed Peas get famous? This must have been like 2003,
Yeah,
4, 5,
yeah.
I don't know. And I remember they sang all these songs and everyone was like, oh, it's so boring, until they sang Where Is the Love, because that had been the only song at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah, yeah.
And then it was good vibes.
Yeah.
What song?
I can beat support acts though. I once saw Taylor Swift supporting the Rascal Flatts, which are a big country band, and I went
That's
when I was
mad.
there.
Do you know what? I actually saw a thing this week. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's been circulating that this time, like 20 years ago, there was a Vanity Fair cover. You know, they do covers with like loads of different talent. So it might be like the Hollywood
Yes,
edition or whatever.
yeah.
So they did like I think it was the Young Hollywood edition. And it was like all this talent, all these young girls, basically. It was like the Hilary Duff era. And there's this one photo. It was Lauren Conrad, Hilary Duff, and Taylor Swift all in one
Oh.
photo together.
like
and
the triumvirate.
yeah, but the caption was like, imagine that there was a time in the world where these people had the same level of fame. Like, how mad
that's
is
so
that?
true.
Crazy.
Isn't that so crazy? Taylor Swift was just some like teeny bopper. And now
I wish
she's
Lauren
gone.
Conrad wasn't as like seemingly afraid of fame as she seems to be.
I know.
She's just faded. I know she has like stuff that she does, but none of it's particularly like front facing.
She didn't. I don't feel like she had enough of a career foundation to really have a great launch pad.
No,
Did
but
she?
I sort of miss her influence. Do you know what I
I
mean?
do too. Whitney Port follows me on Instagram, which remains
Oh,
like
God.
quite a big,
She really?
yeah,
Yeah,
like
that's
life
major.
high. I know. Speaking of Whitney Port, there was a Daily Mail. There's been a few Daily Mail posts recently, and I know maybe we just say we'll stop looking at the Daily Mail, but I cannot believe that in 2023, places like the Daily Mail are still making stories out of someone's body shape. They're basically saying she's too thin, and that's the
story.
angle, and they're
Yeah.
not trying to hide that. There's like, how are we still in a world
Yeah.
where they are writing things like
But
that? It's
clearly
unreal.
they do it because there are clicks on that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the data must be behind it. Like we all like to say.
I mean,
that
you've
we're-
read it, I've read it, so what does that say?
I didn't click on it. I
Did you
saw
not?
it and
Okay,
thought,
I did.
that's awful.
I fully like confess that I did. I don't know why. I mean, it's probably just social conditioning that makes me sort of Pavlovian response to click on that sort of stuff. And maybe this sounds really disingenuous, but like I read it with like genuine concern. I'm like, what's happened?
I don't think that's disingenuous. I think like,
is she unwell? Is something going on? Like, I know she's had these fertility struggles or whatever. So like, is it? I know, it's none of my business.
no, this
obviously.
is it. That's exactly what I was about to say.
But
It's
I
just
don't
none
know
of our
why.
business, is it?
Yeah, why there is this social conditioning that makes me think that it is.
After Caroline Flack died, I was like, that's it, I'm never going on the Daily Mail again. And I called LBC to join in on a conversation about that, and like literally the day after, and I was like, that's like, I was making the case for why I would never look at that again. And slowly it just seeps back into your life, doesn't it? And I wish I didn't. I must make more of an effort to quit.
I wonder why it's such a cultural bastion. Maybe because it like plays to our like basest instincts, right?
I think
and
that's
that
exactly
is
it.
like part of being human, and you can't sort of beat yourself up for it. But yeah, I mean,
But we're feeding a beast by looking at it.
And I think like I don't know if it's like a female thing particularly, but I think we like looking at successful people who we deem to be like, I don't know, living a better life than us, like having like hardships.
Yeah,
there's a schadenfreude.
Yeah,
for sure.
because it's like makes us feel better about our own lives or whatever. And I think even if we like to think, oh, well, I'm actually like, I don't do that. Like, I think we all do it to a degree.
But I don't look at the Whitney Port story and be like, something's obviously gone really wrong.
No, but perhaps the reason you click on it is an unconscious version of that. Don't know. A psychiatrist would have to tell us more. But I agree with you. There must be a level of schadenfreude to it.
Yeah.
But equally, I click on them when it's something. I would click on a story about some, I don't know, insane birthday party or something. You know, when it's something positive as well.
Sort of positive, yeah.
Interesting. So when you mentioned Steps, so on, I feel like all big bands from the 90s are obviously like having their comeback, and Bewitched were on TV this morning because it's been 20 years. First of all, I can never ever ever hear C'est la vie without thinking of you. Like never ever.
Why is that? What happened?
Because in lockdown, Charlotte Lou and I used to call each other like on video call, and I think they requested me to learn that song on the flute.
Sorry, hang on. With the background that you could play the flute.
Oh yeah, no.
And the background that
also
made her play it on a Zoom.
Yeah, well, that came later.
And can I say as well, the other night, like this is a few weeks ago, Harry was like, oh, could you play it to me? So I did, and he filmed me playing it, and he was like, you should add that to your Instagram stories.
Oh
And
yeah,
I was
you
like,
did.
No. And I was like, no, I couldn't possibly. And he was like, no, you should bloody do it. And I was like, oh fuck it, I'll do it. I've never had such high story views in my entire life.
that just means that everyone was sharing it with their
what
friends.
the fuck is she doing? Social suicide.
She's lost the plot out. But like, I can't think of that song without just hearing like a singular flute. It's like. Like that's all I hear when I think of it. So thanks for ruining an excellent pop song for me.
Ruining or making it for you.
Sounds like she made it absolutely legendary, but okay.
Legendary, but equally it just works better with like some percussion and you know, a bit more
fuller sound.
Oh my God.
Sound.
You could do a backing track next time.
If you find someone to
yeah.
play the piano.
Yes.
It's like those buskers in the street where you just feel like you are doing the minimum there.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's do a bit more here.
Yeah, let's work harder. Anyway, so then on my drive in this morning, it got me in the mood, and I just listened to like pure 90s bangers the whole way here, and it was just so good.
Great.
Yeah, including Not Genie in a Bottle, but Come On Over. One of the best songs of that era.
Do you know, I've mentioned this on the podcast probably 3 times already, but my favourite song when I was about, I don't know, probably 12 or 13 was Samantha Mumba.
Oh,
yeah.
True. Oh, yeah, we talked about that the other day,
Yeah,
didn't we?
I literally
We had to Google the song, we couldn't get our heads there, and there's a couple of like Darius Dinesh songs that like really speak to me. R.I.P. Yeah,
R.I.P.
Like, some real tunes.
Have you also heard S Club's new song?
Is it kind of like Reach, or is it kind of like
Don't Stop?
Never Had a Dream Come True?
No, it's somewhere in the middle, I would say, but it feels quite like sparkly S Club, and I used to be such an S Club stan, so
me
it
too.
was like great to
They
see
came
them
and played
back.
at my uni when they were only S Club 3.
Yeah, I felt like they did that for a
Joe,
bit of time.
Bradley and
Tina, but now they've like
but they were still
reformed
great. I mean,
yeah.
it was a bit backing track, but even still,
I guess if you play the bangers.
people went mental.
Sugar Bass played at my uni in
my
End of Freshers
God,
Week. Yeah.
iconic. And the Blue played my
Oh no, hang on, Such a Lie. I'm really sorry, that's Such a Lie. I saw Sugar Bass the other. It was Girls. Was it Girls Aloud without Cheryl? Was that ever a time?
Without
did
Cheryl,
Cheryl leave and like do her own
No.
thing?
Well, she went solo,
They
but
split
that was
up.
after the band had really sort of
I
like
need to ask my
stopped.
friends who that was then. I can just remember a girl, but it was the Saturdays.
It was legendary.
Saturdays.
I love
Yeah.
the Saturdays.
I saw Frankie, what's her face,
Bridge.
do a TikTok the other day, which was like ranking the Saturday songs. So they would play like little snippets of song, and she would be like, okay, number 9 or like number
What was
7
her
or
fave?
whatever.
Do you
And
remember?
I can't remember, but I disagreed with everything she said. But it also made me realise that they had so many good songs.
They did.
But they didn't have a UK number 1 until their one was Sean Paul.
No, and they had a really good reality show on T4 for a while.
Oh, the Saturdays.
They did.
It
and
followed
all
them
about
while
her-
they were trying to break America.
But when she was having the terrible panic attacks.
Yeah, And also Molly had an injury. So she was sort of logging that as well. It was good.
It was good. I remember that.
I didn't know.
Mentioning Blue, though, I have heard the funniest story. So if anyone listens to the Unpopular Opinions podcast...
I think I know the one you're about to
say.
It's hilarious, yeah.
So funny. I was literally laughing.
Oh, no, wait, I saw this. This is about Lee Ryan thinking that someone was crying. Sorry, go on.
For anyone watching who's not familiar, it's the best story, which is this girl talks about how she'd like been in hospital for a while and she'd really not been very well. And basically it turned out she was 14 weeks pregnant. I'm not sure that's like the whole story, but like that is the sort of takeaway. And she was pretty upset about it. Again, they don't give a lot of details as to why that wouldn't be a happy thing for her, but it wasn't. So she came out of hospital still kind of in denial and decided to go to the supermarket and buy 3 pregnancy tests to take home and confirm. And she's in the aisle to pay and she's so upset and she's burst into tears. And it turns out Lee from Blue is behind her and pulls her into this massive hug and says to the person that he's with, "It's okay. I think she's just really overwhelmed to meet me."
And this was recently,
was like,
right?
no,
this
no,
is
no.
not like the height of Lee Ryan thing.
I guess
Yeah.
a few months ago, I don't know.
And did she try to be like, no, this isn't
Yeah.
about you? He's like, it's okay, babe.
It's okay.
He's like,
Do you want a selfie?
You want a
Yeah.
selfie?
Oh.
So cringe.
Cringe.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you'd be absolutely mortified, wouldn't you, if you heard that and you really right.
Brilliant.
I do think a young Duncan James is still like my number one.
Oh yeah, he was a pin-up.
He still is, actually. I saw him on Gogglebox last night and I was just like, yeah, he was a
He was
pin-up
nice
in
to
the
Still a
day,
hunk.
wasn't he?
Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. I'm rewatching Gossip Girl at the moment and just like
9th time round.
like 1,000th time around. And Chase Crawford is just like
I know,
not
he's-
human.
it's
Like
stunning.
he's just so stunning. Like I can't literally it's like I'm giggling talking
But I
about
was
him.
a Chuck Bass girl. I was not a Nate Archibald girl.
Do you know
Yeah, I
what?
was more
Watching
of
it
a
as an
Chuck Bass.
adult, it's all about Nate Archibald.
Is it
He's so
really?
uncomplicated.
Oh, I have to go
He's
back.
loyal. He's so fit. Like, yeah.
He's not very exciting though. Chuck's just so unpredictable.
Yeah, but he's too exciting. Fuck that.
Yeah.
You need.
What I
need a
do
quiet
remember
life.
is there's a season, you'll be able to tell me which one it is. Is it like 3 or 4 where Chuck and Blair are like literally so on and off that you can't even keep up?
Yeah, I think it's 3 because I think that's where I am at the moment. It's when he's like opened the club and it's all really confusing. I feel like when I watch it, I realise how much I hate every single storyline. Like an external person comes in and I'm like, oh, I hate them. And then you remember that like Ivy's coming up and I'm like, oh, Ivy. And then like I'm in the Scott era at the moment. It's all really boring and irritating. But Carter Basin's just back on the scene. Then you remember about the stupid trip. There's all of that when Serena has and they crash the car. So I've got all of that to come next. So I don't really know what I'm
the
doing.
White Party is like the last good episode.
That's why I picked up because I fancied something really summary and I was like, oh okay, that's a really summary episode of TV.
Which is like the first season of season.
First episode of season 2.
Yeah.
Exactly, which is why I'm now on season 4. Polly, you watching anything good at the moment?
No, I have to be honest. Yesterday, I had like a big rot day on the sofa. Obviously,
Nice.
came home. I ordered Deliveroo twice, and I was like, today I'm going to watch only mindless TV.
Great.
And my friend was around, and she was like, "Do you know what might be perfect for us right now? Is a show on Netflix called Mer People, and it is literally what it says on the tin. And like, it's just people who trade to become." Mermaids.
not this again.
Well, I was going to say we talked about this.
talked about
No, but this is fascinating because we had some questions
Oh,
did.
when we
okay.
last talked
Maybe
about
Polly
this.
can answer them now.
Yeah.
Well, I did fall asleep. Like, have a lovely nap on the sofa. Like, it was just perfect because, you know, when you can sort of multi-screen and, like, you know, lie down, fall asleep a little bit. And also when you're feeling really crap about your life choices because you're, like, on the sofa vegetating, like, it made me feel really normal because people, like, take it super fucking seriously.
So these are human people who...
Real people who...
Just to from the actual
absolutely.
These are the humans.
It's an important distinction.
But like, I kind of thought they'd be like quite sunny, like funny people who just like, oh, I just love being a mermaid. Like, it's really jolly fun. But like, there are, you know, people who train people to become mermaids and they are so strict and actually quite mean.
But
like,
when you say to become mermaids,
well, like,
what
as
does
in
that
like
look like?
performing mermaids. So there's a place in, I
Performing?
think it's Florida, and I can't remember the
Course
name
it
of
is.
it, but there's like a kind of expanse of water which isn't man-made, but they've kind of built bits into it so you can go and watch like underwater shows.
Right.
And apparently like the mermaids there have been kind of iconic for like 8 years and years, and like I just didn't know this existed, but people become so obsessed with them and they're like, I'm going to become a mermaid, and it requires like hours of training.
So it's
And,
almost like it's being a synchronized swimmer or something.
Yeah, so it's like
Yeah.
essentially synchronized swimming, but just with the tail, I think.
Right.
And I guess like, look, you know, I'm laughing about it, but I'm sure it takes quite a lot of skill,
Yeah.
you know, to like flip about in the water and not be like, whoa, yeah, just blowing bubbles out your nose and then they're just like.
Yeah, imagine looking pretty underwater.
Yeah.
That is
Oh my
some
God.
feat.
Yeah, so essentially because you're like, you can't really see, you can't really hear.
Yeah.
And there's a scene where like a male like mermaid performer is like they're training the people and like he's watching them through a tank and they're doing like sort of flips and things like that and he was just like, wrong, bend your leg. So
Oh, wait, and
it's
like synchronized swimming then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then I find that less like I think look, who are we to judge? But if they're doing it because they're making a living out of it, then it just sounds like a type of performer, right?
Well,
it's
like being in
athletes or-
Cirque du Soleil or something.
right? Yeah.
I mean, I think they sort of are earning a living out of it, but there's a lot of people who are like really trying to make it in like the mermaid performance world. and
Is
it's
there
really
big money
cut
in that
through.
world?
I don't imagine there is. Maybe you can just earn like a comfortable living from it, and it's something that you adore. Or whatever. But they also interviewed some like older ladies who were the like original mermaids in that place that I spoke about, and some of them were just like, oh, if I could go back to that time, I would do it in a heartbeat. And it's just like, oh, that's actually really sweet that you loved your time as a mermaid. But Jesus Christ, you're like sitting there like, what am I watching?
Yeah, how
Like,
weird.
this is so weird. And then just binged lots of Gogglebox as well yesterday, which is just so prime. But other than that, I feel like I really need something to
I
get
know,
stuck
good
It's the
stuff
summer,
into.
guys.
Yeah,
It's
bad
the
time
usual
for it.
wasteland.
Well, also it's only going to get worse because of all these strikes. There's going to be no TV talk. You need to sit on what we need to watch. Just really quickly, I watched part of the first half of Analyze That last night, which is like an old comedy with
gonna
Billy
say, that's
Crystal.
quite
And,
old,
yeah, it's really
yeah.
old with Billy Crystal and Robert De Niro. But there's a scene in that where he's followed him to Miami and they're in a bar underground and there are mermaids performing behind the bar, like exactly what you're describing. So I wonder if it's connected. In which case,
maybe one
what
of
a
those
weird
things where
coincidence.
like you've never thought about it in your life and didn't know it existed, and then suddenly I'm going to see them everywhere.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're like, and they've got like some of them have got like a breathing apparatus attached, they're just kind of breathing through a tube that goes up.
Yeah.
But they're basically performing almost kind of behind the bar, like
Yeah.
yeah.
Is it weird to say I can understand that a bit more?
Me too.
I
No, I completely agree. Rather
I
than
don't
just,
understand. I think the girl we were talking about last time.
it was just like
does it-
fetishy type thing.
Yeah,
there.
and it's like pure hobby. She doesn't
Exactly.
get paid. No one watches her. She just literally like shimmies into her tail
Yeah.
on the beach
Likes
and
to
sort of
be
like
a mermaid.
Yeah.
shots towards the water.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, each to their own.
each
I
to their own, but that was
suppose.
more confusing.
That
than
was
Yeah.
more
this.
confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like performance
Yeah.
art, which maybe I need to give it some more respect.
Yeah, quite. Harriet, what about you?
On Sunday, I watched Yesterday.
Okay,
Has anyone else seen that?
I gave up on yesterday. I
Did
think.
you?
No, I haven't
I
seen
don't know
it.
why.
I really liked it.
Tell me about the
This is the
premise.
Richard Curtis film
It's a
about.
Richard Curtis film, and I think it got a bit sort of lost in Panny D times because it was one of
okay.
those releases that sort of dropped and everyone was like,
Oh,
not
was
really
it?
paying
Was it not
much
before
attention.
that?
I don't know.
I think
really
it was
can't
before the
place it.
pandemic. Yeah.
Anyway, like I say, it probably still got lost in the hoo-ha of everything. And it's Lily James, and I think his name is Hamish Patel, and they play best friends, really, who he's a struggling musician and she claims to be his manager, but really there's not a lot to manage because he's not very successful, bless him. And in the beginning, he gets a gig at Latitude and everyone's really excited. And then they go and he's playing to like 3 people in a tent. And it's like, oh, God. And he says, like, I'm giving up. This is the end. And on the way home that night, he is hit by a bus because there is this like blackout, basically. So the bus doesn't see him in the road. And you have to suspend your disbelief a bit. But basically,
A bit.
in that moment, there are several things that cease to exist in the history of time, one of which is the Beatles. So
I think I've heard of this film.
he wakes up in hospital and he makes a reference to the Beatles, and Lily James, who's his friend, doesn't have a clue what he's talking about because she's not been in the accident. So she's like, what are you on about? And then it comes out that there are loads of other things that haven't now been invented, like Coke and...
Oh, I don't think I even got that far. I think I only got
it's
as far
quite
as
clever.
I
'cause
got as far as
it
like
builds.
Googling the Beatles and trying to work out like Beatles, and then I felt it was really predictable, so it just stopped.
I can understand why you felt that way because the premise is like ridiculously simple and you do have to kind of go with it and not question it too much. But then Ed Sheeran plays a massive part. In the film,
I think I knew that,
which I
yeah.
didn't know about beforehand. And so this guy obviously then starts passing Beatles songs off as his own, and it's really clever actually because he comes out of the hospital and his friends have bought him a new guitar because his got smashed, and they're like, oh, play us a song, and he's like, well, okay, and he plays them Yesterday, and they're all like,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
It's by the Beatles. And they're like, what are you talking about? And his friend does this cool speech where he's like, oh, music nerds are so annoying when they name all these bands as though everyone's supposed to know who they are and like no one knows. So it's really funny.
Fun.
But obviously it's then like a journey, and then he's being followed by these 2 people who you just get the sense that they know, like they've been left out of the memory wipe for whatever reason. One of whom is played by Sarah Lancashire, who's really good.
Love Sarah Lancashire.
Yeah,
she's great.
and then they turn up at the end and confront him, but it's not in the way you expect.
Okay,
It's
maybe I need to
really,
finish it.
really interesting.
Okay.
So yeah, if you're up for like a bit of fluff with not much like brain power involved, I recommend. It's
for
on
Sunday.
iPlayer for about another week, I think.
Nice. And you've been reading a lot.
I have, yeah, in my illness. Yeah, I got through like 4 books last week, which is
Amazing.
ridiculous,
What
like
did
in
you
terms of pace. Again, they're quite sort of like easy reads. So has anyone read anything by Emily Henry?
No.
I don't think so, no.
No. So you'd look at the covers, and I hate this phrase, but you would think, oh, that's just chick lit. Like, I'm not going to bother. But I'd really, really recommend them. If you're a fan of like Marianne Keyes type genre, where it's like sort of taking chick lit and sort of making it better, for want of a better phrase. She's got 4 books. The most recent is Happy Place, which is the one I finished. Well, I finished Beach Read and Happy Place last week.
Oh, Beach Read, everyone's talking about.
Everyone's talking about it. And Book Lovers as well came out last year, and that was a mega hit. But you know, I get all my book recommendations off TikTok these days.
Oh.
BookTok. Apparently they're launching their own book awards.
Is that right?
Because BookTok's become
Taken
such a big thing.
Oh.
And so the last one I got off there was Fourth Wing.
Okay.
And I feel like this is something like...
But how... Sorry to interrupt. How are you finding like recommendations that you think might appeal to you? Because
I'm not.
You're just
I'm
hoping
not.
for the best.
I'm just hoping for the best.
Okay.
Yeah. I think as well, I think I was talking about this on another podcast recently. I was in like a massive reading slump for like 2 years. And I just think I don't really like literary fiction that much.
Oh, right. Okay.
So one of the books I started last week but didn't finish.
That's quite a sweeping statement because there's just so many types of fiction.
Well, literary fiction is a very specific type of fiction, I think.
Oh, sorry, literary fiction as in like about books.
No, so within, I don't know, book world, book speak, literary fiction is kind of a bit of an American term, I guess, hence it's coming off TikTok, but it's essentially books that are like quite serious.
Oh, right, okay.
Serious fiction.
Oh,
so one of the books I didn't finish last week because I just despised it literally from the opening chapter was Yellowface by R.F.
Okay,
Kuang.
yeah.
I know you've read that.
Yeah.
And based on what you had told
That's
me...
interesting that you despised it from...
I just despised her, like the narrator.
Yeah, she's awful.
She's awful.
I think it's supposed to dislike her, yeah.
I think you are too, but I think it's such a fine line, isn't it? Like, you watch things like Succession and not a single character is likeable, and yet somehow you're invested. And I just read like the first 3 chapters of this and I was like, I literally don't care what happens.
I tell you the difference. I think in Succession is like a character study, right? Like it's an observation, whereas something like Yellowface, where it's told in the first person, you have to live in their head, and that's quite different, observational rather than like within it.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, you don't live in the heads of any of the Succession characters. Yeah, good way of putting it. But yeah, so I just have had a hard time, I think, with books that like, I don't know. I was also really disappointed with Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld.
Literally the worst, most overhyped, worst book.
Yeah, and it's all this like literary fiction genre that like everyone's like, oh, you should be reading this. You should be reading this. And I just open them, I'm like, everything is so boring. Like I don't engage with any of this. So hence why I just went on TikTok and I was like, what are the cool kids reading? Like let's try something new. Emily Henry is nothing new. They're all just like romantic comedies basically, but they're so charming. Like that sounds like quite an innocent word, but I genuinely think like if you're having a bit of a reading slump and you just need something where you can feel like I've got through like 4 Emily Henry books in a week, you'll do it because each one is just so lovely.
And it's a bit of escapism.
A lot of them have summer vibes as well.
Okay.
And then Fourth Wing is completely different, but I feel like if there are any like Lux girls watching, they will be like, duh, you're so late to the party.
right.
But basically it's fantasy, which
right.
I know is so out of my comfort zone. Because I don't think I've read any fantasy since
I've
I read
never,
Harry Potter.
I've never read apart from Harry Potter.
I'm not a Game of Thrones person. I
watched
didn't
it,
even
but
watch the series.
Did you ever read them, Game of Thrones?
No.
And I always felt like I'd open the page and be like, the dragon said, and I'd be like, no, I can't.
We're done here.
But that is what Fourth Wing is about.
Okay.
It's about...
But is it like, what do they call it?
Dystopian?
YA.
No, oh my god. In some places it's extremely adult, if you get my drift. I know, it's a bit spicy. So there are 2 really like spicy scenes in there if anyone's like up for that. I didn't realise
You like that?
Oh yeah. Oh god, yeah.
Tell Polly the page reference. Skip straight ahead.
But obviously the majority of the book is not about that. It's the premise is there's a young girl called Violet Sorrengale who
Sorrengale. That has got fancy lit written all over it.
It's just so Hunger Games, isn't it? But I just think this is like 10 times better than Hunger Games.
Oh,
it makes Hunger Games look dumb.
I read The Hunger Games.
Did you?
Yeah,
I
I read
think
the
I
first
did,
one.
yeah.
That was
And I
good.
read the first Philip Pullman, actually, like, not long ago. I
Yeah.
thought I should know what that was
Well,
about.
actually, it's interesting that you say that, because this is, maybe it's more like magical fantasy than it is Hunger Games, like dystopian fantasy.
Yeah, but in
Yeah?
a way, dystopian fantasy probably appeals to me a little more.
I can understand that,
Yeah,
because
but
it's
anyway,
more,
yeah,
there's more like maybe human experience.
exactly. It's a bit 1984. I mean,
Yeah. Whereas this, it's world building, and I think a lot of people are put off by that, because you do have to spend time like getting things in your head about like, okay, so this is how their politics works, or this is how their leadership works, whatever. But essentially, this young girl, she is sort of dynasty in that her mother is like the general of this kingdom, and children don't go to normal school. They go to a particular school where they go into like one of 3 quadrants, and one of them is very deadly, and it's called the Rider Quadrant. And basically children are conscripted into there for reasons I won't bore you with, but she gets put in there because her mother wants her to like honour the family. But it's incredibly dangerous, and most of them don't survive, and they get like death rolls read out every day and stuff. And it's basically about her experience in that. And then, but the twist is so unreal. I did not see it coming at the end at all. And literally last night I think it's 500 pages, and I had about 250 to go. And I was just like reading because I was doing nothing else. And then I got to like 380, 400, and I was like,
I'm gonna have to stay up.
I'm gonna have to finish this. And there are 2 major twists. So when the first one's happened, I was like, shut up. And then the last one, I was like, no, because it ends on a cliffhanger. The next one comes out in November.
Okay.
So I'm very excited. But I think it's probably the best book I've read all year.
It sounds you're actually really selling it to me.
I
think I might give it a go. Yeah.
Like first 50 pages in, I'm thinking, okay, stamina here. Like I'm gonna have to. Can I do this? Can I not do this? Once you're past 115, you'll be in it.
Okay, good. I'm in a bit of a reading slump at the moment as well. So
if you're in a reading slump, I could not recommend it more. Because also you'll get to the end and be like, "Oh, it's 500 pages. Look at me."
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, badge of honour. I need something meaty for holiday as well.
Yeah,
so.
but holiday, Emily Henry.
Okay, well, I hear what you're saying. I actually, and I've said this a couple of times before, but I tend to reserve my reading for heavy. I do like heavy books, and I don't read enough to warrant something a bit more fluffy.
Yeah.
So it sounds really nice if that's your thing, but I have to say I've never really been a kind of light literature gal.
Yeah. You'll try Fourth Wing then. I think you'll really like it.
Okay, noted. Thank you. I wanted to talk about some summer sensations.
cool.
I know.
Crisps?
Not those kind of sensations.
Oh, damn.
The Telegraph wrote a feature, Yacht Girl versus Tomato Girl. Which summer look will you adopt? So this is taking 2 social media trends and saying essentially everybody fits into one of 2 categories. So Tomato Girl, let's find the official descriptions, because Tomato Girl is one I've seen, Yacht Girl is not. Right, so these are the criteria for the 2 separate types of girl.
Okay.
Tomato Girl. Your holiday jewellery of choice might be fruit, vegetable or plant earrings, which, as an aside, not my vibe, but I don't know if you've seen today, but on Net-a-Porter's new in, there are some Jacquemus earrings, which are like giant croissants. They're gold, and they look like they're like this, but they're like incredible oversized gold statement earrings, but they're like croissants.
I feel like
You need them.
those.
Go-to swimwear would be a colourful bikini. Your cocktail would be an Aperol Spritz. Always orders insalata caprese, and your styling trick would be to never leave the house without sunglasses. Tomato Girl essentially is an adoption of the Italian lifestyle. It's referencing Sophia Loren, Brigitte Bardot, La Dolce Vita they're talking about. It says if Sophia Loren is the Pomodoro Signora pin-up, then for a yacht woman it's Jacqueline Onassis, Jane Fonda or Princess Diana on a boat in Greece, the Hamptons or the south of France.
Okay.
The look is minimalist, sporty and sleek, but understatedly luxury too. She's as likely to be wearing a diamond tennis bracelet as a sporty swimsuit or a baseball cap. So the criteria for a yacht girl is your holiday jewellery of choice would be a subtle diamond tennis bracelet. Go to swimwear, a sporty navy one piece. A gin and tonic will be your cocktail. Paddleboarding would be your activity. Your styling trick would be to throw a knit around your shoulders in case the breeze picks up. So it's basically sporty and rich versus Dolce & Gabbana, aesthetically.
Yeah.
Polly, which one are you?
Oh my god, I've just been thinking, like, I feel like I identify with some aspects of both, but maybe I'm leaning towards more like Tomato Girl. Interestingly.
Interesting.
Yeah. I didn't expect you to say that.
No, I didn't either. How
I think
so?
I'm more of a yacht girly, do you think? Well, because when you say sporty and rich, I'd probably say I identify more with that brand than like Dolce & Gabbana, but like, I do like a caprese salad and a spritz. So.
If pasta is the thing that's going to like nip this in the bud, then like
it usually is the thing that sways me.
Right, exactly. Yeah. I think we're all going to land there. People, if you think of that roster of inspo, do you lean towards more of a Sophia Loren or a Princess Diana?
Probably Princess Diana.
Right? Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like maybe that's, trying to compare myself to either of those
I
people is
think
maybe a bit of a stretch.
Inspo. It's taking inspo.
It feels to me like Yacht Girl is like the foundation for a lot of people, and then there are moments of tomato every summer.
Yeah, I think that's probably
What
fair.
about you girlies? Do you feel the same?
Well, yeah, because I feel like most of the time I'm probably in the yacht camp, but every now and again I like to jazz it up on holiday. Why not?
Yeah.
So
I'm just going through my holiday wardrobe.
I feel like you're a bit more tomato girl.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
maybe
more
a bit more
tomato.
tomato, but I tend to be a bit more. I think I'm more extra in my like day-to-day wardrobe than I am in my holiday wardrobe. I wear a lot of white, especially this year. Most of my holiday wardrobe is quite white and quite breezy. I feel like it probably would fit in that sort of like yachty kind of Mykonosy vibe.
So to
more
summarise, actually, you're not in either camp. You can be a bit of both.
It does say here that Tomato Girls is a look that encompasses all things joyful, maximalist and Mediterranean. Think pretty printed sundresses and novelty accessories which pay tribute to the food and fauna of southern Europe. I have a kitschy pyjama suit which which kind of looks like it's like all the plates you see in like Sorrento and Positano, and that's kind of the vibe with bowls of pasta and stuff on it. So
isn't it?
if we're basing it on that, then
you're quite a like
Tomato Girl.
accent accessories girl as well.
Yeah, that's also true. I like a bit of a colour.
Yeah. Fun bag or something.
Yeah, maybe. It's true. Polly, have you got holidays left to go? And if so, what will you be wearing?
I'm going to Sardinia actually for a few days in later this month. So given that it's Italy, maybe I'll be a bit more
Tomato
girly. Although really thinking about it, my holiday wardrobe is quite neutral. So gosh, it's really throwing catchment decisions.
So much to think about. I feel like on TikTok, to me, Tomato Girl would have been the way to describe the kind of evolution of cottagecore. Like, there's so much of the kind of gingham, picnic, bandana, like tomatoes in a basket aesthetic out there right now that more accurately describes that. I feel like that's more present.
Yeah, the word tomato is an odd one.
Yeah, I'd call it pastacore. Pasta girl.
Recoining that. You're going to I'm not.
I'm not.
Marbella.
I'm going to.
You're going to Mallorca.
So I feel like I need whatever the Spanish. I feel like Spanish style probably lands somewhere between the two of those as well. Like it's some floaty things with a red lip or I don't know, something like that.
I've only got Provence to go, and I don't think that fits into either of those.
Yeah,
maybe it's
probably more yacht. Yeah,
Provence, maybe more yachty, but it's just lots of white linen, isn't it?
It's white linen. Well, that kind of is yachty. But I suppose if the reference is like a Jackie Onassis, I mean that's quite a glam take on.
Yeah.
I don't know, do you go glam on holiday? Like what do you do in the evenings? Do you
quite
dress
lean
up?
into it? I feel like because I finally have like, I don't know, maybe more brain space to just think about it, and also I'm less maybe self-conscious of wearing things that are a bit more out there because I sort of feel like everyone's leaning into good vibes and I don't know any of these people, so if they don't like what I'm wearing, like who cares?
Doesn't matter, yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I do have quite a lot of fun with holiday wardrobe.
Do you?
Yeah.
Do you?
I kind of do. Like I maybe have like the odd thing, but then generally speaking, like I end up going out for the evening and like I think to myself, especially if you're just with like a partner, you're like, who am I trying to impress?
Yeah.
And like, well, I could make an effort, but it's also quite warm. I'm a bit sweaty. I just want to wear something comfortable.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I sort of hate the kind of, is rigmarole the right word, of where you like, you come in from the beach, you put your makeup on, you go out and have a meal, and you come home, you take it off, and you just do that every night. Like, I'd almost rather just not wear makeup for that.
Makeup
which is different
does,
to dressing up. Yeah.
Makeup does sort of hit the skids for me, I have to admit. Like, I am quite barefaced on holiday. But yeah, it doesn't stop me putting on like a more fancy dress. I also think like practicality isn't like as big a issue.
Yeah, that's totally true. Has anyone bought anything new for their respective holidays?
I did buy some sunglasses the other day.
You did?
Which was a bit of a like impulse splurge, but they're just amazing. I went to Selfridges and tried on some Miu Miu, like kind of cat-eye shaped tortoiseshell sunglasses, and on the like arms they've got like Miu Miu and like big gold logo, and they're just so extra, but I fucking love them.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah.
They're really, really cool.
Yeah.
Harriet?
I have to admit, the last thing I bought is for autumn winter.
Ditto.
Got
some brown cords arriving today.
Ooh.
I know.
Oh, the Ralph Lauren ones.
Yeah, they're cool,
that's
aren't
so
they?
cool.
I know.
I love them.
I'm excited.
I bought it in the net sale, but it's definitely autumn winter, which is from Blase Milano.
Yeah.
and I think Georgie's got it as well.
Oh, you bought that? I love that jacket.
I love that jacket.
What, the little crops?
Yeah,
the crop
navy
navy
one.
one.
The
It's
navy
not
one.
a blazer.
Oh my god, it's
Cool.
I'm really jealous you bought that. It's a really
literally,
good jacket.
I looked at it when it first came in the sale, sold out really quick. I was just like, okay. And you know when sometimes in a month you're not like in the financial position, so you're just like, I just have to let it go. And then this month I was in the financial position, and I just went on, and it was there, one left in my size. I was like,
fate.
it's meant to be.
That's fate.
Meant to be. Oh, I really like that jacket. It's in black. They've got it in black now,
They
and they've
do.
styled it so amazingly. Like I think she's wearing a pony neck underneath, and then she's wearing these like black tailored shorts, like winter shorts,
So
with
cool.
so cool, with then like a kind of semi-sheer black tights and like a black point. I mean, it just looks like, damn, I want that whole look.
It's actually much more oversized than I thought it would be, but I think I'm going to keep it because you don't want that to look too small.
Oversized is.
But I feel, I'm going to have to ask you guys for styling tips, because on the bottom I feel like you could end up looking quite sort of ordinary.
Yeah.
Because I feel like it needs a skinnier bottom.
Nice
on
with
it.
leather.
Yeah, nice with leather. Yeah.
Oh, it's really cool.
Oh.
I'm jealous.
So yeah, and obviously it was like, well,
Significant-
it was
it
half
was
price,
significantly discounted,
and
yeah.
then it was the whole 15% extra.
Oh,
The
it's
sales this year have been
15%,
wild
unreal.
in terms of discounting. Yeah, like
Yeah.
it's still going on.
So that was a
Nice.
win.
I actually bought a jumper at the beginning of the Net Porter sale, which I ended up wearing out on Saturday night because the weather was
so
so
cold.
grim. It was so miserable. But anyway.
Nice that you have an opportunity to wear it. 'cause I
It
feel like when
was.
you buy stuff, you want to wear it straight away. Don't you?
100%. I'm not one
Yeah.
for delayed gratification. Like,
No, me
can I wear
neither.
brown cords tomorrow? That's the
Yeah.
question.
What are you going to wear with your brown cords?
Okay, well, can I tell you? So my school uniform was brown cords and a blue shirt. Like that's what we're with a brown jumper as well. We won't be doing the brown jumper, but I thought that like it's a really good aesthetic. Like the way they've styled these flares on Net Porter is with it's with a denim shirt, which I thought looked really cool. They've gone in like full Ralph Lauren, so it's denim shirt, kind of silk scarf that's kind of I don't know, is it some sort of like equestrian print or something, I don't know, with some boots, which like I'm quite into that.
yeah.
I also love there's some amazing, I think knitwear has got so expensive for the season ahead. Like I actually can't go over the prices of what's dripping in. I'm
it's
hoping
crazy,
it will get better, but like
Yeah.
it's so expensive, but there's some amazing, Kate in particular, I think the trend is coming from them, but there's a few, that Alan Nui, that brand, Alan Nui,
yeah.
have done
I
some
love that
incredible Fair Isle style
Yeah.
knits, and there's a really good kind of beige one with Fair Isle and a bit of red in it, and I just like
cool.
I'm gonna go like full throttle autumn
Yeah.
aesthetic this year.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing about holiday fashion is I think if you buy it well, like it doesn't date
I
as
so
much
agree,
season to season. So in terms of saying I have fun with my holiday wardrobe, these are literally pieces I wear like a few times a year.
Yeah.
So it's nice to crack them out.
Yeah,
on
I so
holiday.
agree with that. Yeah.
But in terms of like making mega investments in my holiday wardrobe, some years I don't buy anything.
Yeah, I
'cause
haven't
I'm
bought
not going
much.
to get the wear out of it here.
Well, this is it. Like, if there's a year, like last year, I feel like in July maybe I bought a few more summer pieces because it was a good summer here. Whereas I really
There's
don't like
no
buying
inspo
things just
here at
for
the
the
moment,
sake of
yeah.
a week on holiday. So
No.
I'm in full autumn mode now.
yeah.
Yeah. Let's answer some questions from our community. Okay, somebody has said planning a European getaway in autumn and curious where you would recommend that is still a little bit warm. I'm going to Porto in October.
Oh,
I said that before.
very
Yeah,
nice.
which I'm going with my whole family. I haven't been away with my parents in like 6 or 7 years. But anyway,
Yeah.
Very nice.
so they chose that. But it's supposed to be really lovely there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard good things about Porto.
Yeah.
Lisbon also. I
Yeah.
went in
Yeah.
February and that was great. So yeah, Portugal.
Any of the big like southern Spanish cities like Andalusia
Yeah.
or
Seville.
Seville.
Yeah,
That would be really
Granada.
nice. Yeah.
All still good weather. Or if you're prepared to go a little further afield, Marrakesh still is good.
Yeah.
at that time of year.
Yeah.
Tel Aviv, another one.
Yeah.
Somebody says, I turn 30 at the end of August and having a bit of a day, evening drinks party. Struggling with an outfit. Any suggestions? Welcome. Don't want to spend loads. Polly, any suggestions?
I feel like. Sorry. When is this party? Soon.
It does not. End of August.
End of August. Okay, interesting one. What about like a fun linen suit in a cool colour? I feel like Zara have got some good ones that you could. Or Massimo Dutti maybe.
Linen suit's a good idea because
Yeah.
it's day to night.
Decent.
Does the job.
Yeah.
You can always wear a t-shirt underneath and take it off for night.
Whoop. Wild one.
Somebody has said, I'm looking for some advice on getting a job in fashion with very minimal fashion related experience. I've just finished my English Lit degree, but my work experience is very much corporate over creative. I'm looking at junior fashion assistant, writer, shopping editor type roles. Any advice is much appreciated. I think we can both offer some advice there. What did you do?
I started a blog when I went to get some work experience and had no other fashion experience. I know blogs are probably a little bit redundant now, but I think you can show that you have an interest and have a skill in whether it's styling or like just an interest in fashion or just you have flair in that area by just like really marketing yourself, I think, on your socials and including that in your application. And then I think if you're applying like on the application front specifically to different places, like really like honing in on what you like about that place that you're applying to. I think it's so easy to really talk about yourself, but like what can you offer to that place is really important.
Second that. I can't believe the amount of emails I get just with a kind of paragraphs about why somebody themselves is so fabulous, but no indication of why. Well, no indication that they're even sending it directly to you, not just sending it to 15 publications.
Totally.
No sense of, this is how I can help you. Like, we're not out here kind of dishing out jobs, obviously. So and that applies to anyone. So therefore, if you're going to be a candidate and you want someone to take you seriously, especially if there isn't a role, then you have to show that you're really going to help them out, right? And be a real asset to them.
Yeah, like just tailor your application to each place. Like it obviously takes more time, but you have a greater chance of success, I think, if you do that.
Yeah, totally agree. I also would say really, really specifically, like this thing says a job in fashion. Fashion is the second biggest industry in the UK, so I find it very frustrating as well when someone comes to me and says, I want to work in fashion. Like what does that mean? Do you want to be a buyer, a merchandiser, a stylist, a writer? There are, there are thousands. You could work in PR. There are so many jobs in the industry. So before you start reaching out to anyone or any type of whatever place of work, be very clear on what area it is that you want to work in. I think it's totally fine to apply to internships and try and ask for work experience, saying you're trying to identify that's fine. But when it comes to actually applying to jobs, or if you get to the interview stage, be really clear on why you want that type of role in fashion. Don't just...
I always say I work adjacent to fashion. I don't do styling, I don't do product, I don't do any of that, but I still feel very much part of like that world, given my particular job. But my particular job has nothing to do with
and also that's interesting because it's maybe given your particular skill set, right? So it might be that one's skills are not styling or something, but you could have a role like your role where you get to be surrounded by it. I always think that, our commercial team, for example, they are in sales, but they are in sales for something creative and interesting. And
in a job like mine specifically, I sort of rove through everything. So I rove through fashion, beauty, interiors, food, and like never gets boring.
Yeah, I'm sure. My other piece of advice, Polly, is exactly like yours, is to build some sort of portfolio. That's the advice I always give everyone. Like, it doesn't have to be that anyone sees it. So you could have a blog that doesn't get published, but it's just to have a portfolio to prove that you actually are into that thing.
Yeah, because I think a lot of people would probably feel quite pressured to build an Instagram, but you don't have to.
No, totally agree. You really don't have to. But I do think build a social media platform that represents you in the best way that you. So it doesn't have to be that if you want to get into fashion, it doesn't have to be selfies. It could just be like, share interesting news or your opinion on interesting fashion news. It doesn't, I think of what's the account that's all blue, style.com, that one, like that's a really good example of a fashion Instagram account.
Or even I feel someone like Lou's account, like very often, obviously she does post the odd kind of artsy selfie, but a lot of it is just like inspo images. But every time you go on her Instagram, I get like, immediately I know who she is, like what her taste is.
So true. It's it's almost like a Tumblr
account.
It's proof of aesthetic more than anything. So just have a version of a mood board that have a version of socials that is a mood board that represents you. Okay, somebody has said, my parents' milestone birthday this year and would love some ideas. My mum is a tricky one to buy for, from Yorkshire, doesn't like expensive gifts, but it's an amazing milestone. What to get a lady who has it all, loves to walk, golf, doesn't like spas or expensive skincare or makeup, apart from a lippy.
So she's asking for gift recommendations.
It's got to be an experience of some kind, hasn't it? She's not very materialistic.
Like
Like, I get, with most parents, I get the impression that what they love most is like time spent with their children. So if you can take her out to do something really unique and memorable, I'm trying to think of something like that it doesn't revolve like around spas or something, as she doesn't like.
But she loves to walk. Go on a walking trip.
I tell you what I did the other week as well, which might be difficult to organise now, but so about 6 times a year, Highgrove open its gardens for like exclusive tours that you walk around with a guide, and there's only a maximum of like 15 people in your group, and you have to be quite on it in terms of like booking because it goes really fast. But that feels like really exclusive and like
that's really nice,
fun and outdoorsy, but it's not sort of rammed down your throat that this is like a really expensive place to be or anything.
Yeah, that's lovely. I think, some sort of National Trust walk or something could really work. I also think in my experience, the things that go down the best with parents is sentimental things as well. Like I remember once doing it, what did I do? Like some random photo book. It was like thrown in as like an extra Christmas present, and they were obsessed with the photo book, like more than anything else. So yeah, I think if in doubt, sentimentality, a book of a photo album, which is so easy to make online. Oh, actually, that's what I forgot about that. For my parents' 30th wedding anniversary, we did not only a book of photos, but we had all of their friends send photos. So it was kind of through the years, and then we had all of their closest friends send messages as well, which I just formatted and then copied and pasted as images. So they were at the back of the book, and they loved that. Easy win. Not expensive either.
No, great.
Okay, and finally, somebody says, I'm an Aussie here who has just moved to London and is in search of a winter coat recommendations. Looking for something warm, stylish and good quality. Can anyone recommend any UK brands?
I have an instant one for this,
Go.
which is And Other Stories. I think their coats are such good quality. There's like a label sewn into it that's like, this wool has come, like it's British wool standard approved or something.
Okay, it's almost like a guarantee of quality.
Yeah, and for the price, I just think it's like, they would easily, if that came from the row, they would charge £2,000, but it's really reasonably priced, I think.
Can I just say before we get into some more recommendations, I remember Bella, who used to work here, and she was Australian, and I remember it blew my mind when she arrived saying that she just did not own a coat before she moved to the UK, and I was like, imagine a life where you just don't own a coat. Like,
how nice to not have to invest in like a whole category.
Yeah,
my sister has like 3 coats, and she's left them all here just for when she comes to visit.
I do kind of feel sad for it though, because I love coats. One of my
I love coats too.
I
do love coats. Yeah. So where would you buy a coat from?
I've actually got some really good, quite inexpensive coats over the years from Weekday.
That's like good offers. Love them.
Yeah, they're kind of like, you know, longer sort of classic tailored styles. You know, they're about 125 quid, which I think is pretty good for like a good, good wool coat or whatever. And then in terms of like cool puffers, I think Ganni do them really well. I think it's quite hard to find puffers that are like not a bit like lame.
It's got to be really oversized.
Yeah.
So if in doubt, size up.
Yes. And also Arquette. Like,
they're
big puffers. They're also...
Well, they do that perfect Scandi oversized. Yeah.
So, worth a look there.
Nice. All right.
What about you?
I've got a really good oversized puffer from Primark.
Oh, go on.
I really do. You've seen it. But it's a really good... Like, I just sized up. It's like straight out. You don't want any like cinching with a puffer. That's not very cool. But it's like a proper Scandi, like really, really oversized. I've also got a puffer from AW23, which was an investment, but a net bought a sale buy as well, which I love because I think it is really hard with puffers to find ones that are exciting. And if you like to not just wear neutral colours, it's quite hard. So AW23 was expensive, but I will wear that forever.
So cool.
And I would like a brown / camel coat this year. I'm going to wear a lot of brown. Just you wait.
Camel's hard, I find.
Camel's hard. So I think I need a chocolate brown one.
Yeah, chocolate.
But it will be a high street purchase, I think. Yeah. So good to know those recommendations.
But there's quality on the high street. There really is.
That Weekday one. Also, the good thing about that Weekday one is I was just thinking about who has it in the office, and like B who has it, who's quite small, petite, and then Amrit had it, who's really quite tall. So it actually works for everyone. Yeah. All right. Thanks both. Lovely to catch up. Thank you for listening. If you have any feedback at all, please do email podcast@sheerluxe.com. We love hearing from you. Don't forget to join the community to ask your questions for the podcast. And please do also rate, review, subscribe, and tell your friends. And we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.